Hey, how you guys doing? It is Thursday morning. Well, I guess it's afternoon now. It's a couple minutes after 12, noon o'clock, midday. This is Harley. She's doing great. Pretty cold this morning. Got down to about 26 degrees or so. So thankfully, it is warming up. We have some snow, well, potential snow and ice in the forecast. So we'll kind of see what happens with that. Um, you know, be a good opportunity to train to get her and Caden both, two young dogs that are, 6 and 7.5 months of age, used to working on a cold, snowy, wet surface. So hopefully it's not all rain, just because if it's raining, super heavy, that will impact our training somewhat. But if it's not raining too bad, we'll still come out here and work. It is important for the dog, again, to get used to working on a wet surface. And like I've talked about in other videos, a lot of times the dog won't want to heel or sit or down or come back on recall when it's wet, but the dog has to do it anyway. You need to train in any and all environments and also in any and all conditions. So anyway, enough about that. Another topic I want to talk about here is, is putting your dog on the furniture a good idea? And by furniture, I mean the bed or the couch, the sofa. And the short answer to that is no. And the reason why is when you allow a dog on furniture or the bed, you screw up the status of the dog. The dog starts seeing itself as equal to a human being. And what do you think happens when a dog thinks it's equal to man, a human? Well, then the dog, will take upon itself to sometimes lash out, act out in aggressive ways. It creates a lot of problems and issues in terms of your behavior and your training. So I hope that makes sense. So dogs in the bed, certainly not a good idea. Dogs on the sofa, that's not a good idea either. In the recliner, whatever it is. And if you have children in the house, then that really starts upping the risk of the dog putting its mouth on folks, because kids are, they're smaller, they're a lot louder, they're a little bit more rambunctious. It kind of freaks some dogs out. It gets the dogs going. And then if the dog thinks that, oh, hey, I'm equal to a human being, I can be up on the bed where the humans are and up on the couch, what do you think happens when the kid starts getting rambunctious with the dog, or when the kid takes a toy away from the dog, that sort of thing? A lot of times the kid or the grown person in the house gets bit, so just some things, to think about. And while I'm talking about in the bed, if a dog, I'm not saying don't love your dog, but the dog needs to spend, some time away from you. That's important. Otherwise, the dog will develop what's called separation anxiety. And both Caden and Harley have some of this. Okay, they do. That they're not used to sleeping in a crate, for an extended period of time. I can just tell by the way they're acting, that they just totally flip out. And Harley flips out so bad that she drools all over herself, saliva gets everywhere, and it causes irritation on her front paws. Now she's getting better with it, but just something to consider. Excuse me. So, again, I'm not saying don't have fun with your dog, don't love your dog, but the dog, you're going to screw up the status of the dog. You're going to send a mixed signal to it by allowing it on the furniture or in the bed. And two, if the dog is sleeping with you in the bed or even in the room in the crate, you're going to start upping the ante for separation anxiety, okay? So just listen real carefully to what I'm saying here, okay? When you first bring your puppy home in the 7th or 8th week, which, by the way, that is the ideal time to bring the dog home. If you take it, in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th week, that's too soon. You've taken it away from the mother and the litter way too quick. You cannot act as this surrogate mother dog to the puppy. That's not how this works. You're being unrealistic. And then if you wait until the 9th, 10th, or 11th, 12th plus week, the dog has stayed too long. The dog has been in a pack run environment way too long. It's been stuck with the litter far too long. It's going to think that, it gets to play, cowboys and Indians with each and every dog that it sees for the rest of its life, okay? All dogs, regardless of breed, they learn all of their socialization skills in those first 8 weeks with the litter, okay? If anyone's selling you on this, like if you have a 7-month-old dog and they're like, oh, well, we have a daycare service that'll help socialize the dog. No, you need to invest in training. They're selling you on nonsense, and they're going to turn your dog into a mock fighter, okay? But back on topic, when you bring the young puppy home at, 7 or 8 weeks, that would be a time where it's okay to, like, have the crate real close to you or have the puppy pen real close to you. Some people, I will do this. Now, listen real carefully to what I'm saying. Okay, don't be like, oh, well, he said it, but when I first get a puppy, which I will be getting a new dog in the middle of January, and I'll talk more about this then, but when you first bring your puppy home, you can set up a cot or a makeshift bed, or you can do it on the sofa. You only want to do this for a couple days, okay? So again, listen carefully, but what I usually do is I'll sleep, like if it's this time of year, I'll sleep with this Carhartt jacket on, my pants, my socks. I'll have my Crocs, my knockoff Walmart Crocs, right by the door. And I'll have the puppy sleep right here on my chest, okay? Now I only do that, again, for about 3 or 4 days, okay? And when I feel the puppy move on my chest, that's when I know, when I feel that puppy start moving at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's like, oh shoot, I need to wake up, and I just hightail it to the door and we get out of there. And as we're hightailing it there, I, clip the leash onto the dog's leather collar and place the puppy down into the grass. By picking the dog up and walking, that'll sort of stop the dog from wanting to have an accident. Does that make sense? Place the puppy onto the grass, tell it hurry, goes to the bathroom, yay, good boy, good girl, throw a party, let them know they're on the right track. Then we go back inside and go back to sleep. So again, that would be a time where it's okay to do that for 3 or 4 days. I wouldn't advise doing it in the bedroom if possible. Again, do it somewhere where you're close to the front or the back door or the garage, the sunroom, whatever way you have that is gonna give you the quickest access outside. You have to get the dog housebroken and potty trained immediately. You have to, and I don't want to hear like, oh, well, that's too much work. You should have thought about that before you got a dog. A dog is a lot of money, but I would argue the time is what gets overlooked, okay? So once you get success for those 3 or 4 days, then you can set up a very small crate or a puppy pen. I would advise a small exercise pen with newspapers. So if the dog does, God forbid, have an accident, 1, it's on the papers and you can clean it up very quickly, and 2, it's not in the crate on themselves. You do not want the young dog or any dog to have an accident on themselves in the crate, okay? You set yourself back 3 steps in terms of training, or excuse me, you set yourself back about 3 days in terms of training every time that happens, okay? You've got to disinfect the crate, the room. You've got to get that urine smell off the dog so it doesn't trigger them to want to go to the bathroom again. That takes a lot of time to do, and again, it works against your training, okay? So after those 3 or 4 days where you have success of the 7 to 8 week old puppy sleeping on your chest, and you're hightailing it out the door in the middle of the night, then set up an exercise pen, set that a few feet away from you, and each night that you're having success, pick up the papers, put a fresh set down, and start moving that pen farther and farther away from you. Is this starting to make sense? Okay? And then once you have success there for about a week to 10 days or so, now you're in the 9th to 10 week, roughly in that range, then you can start your crate training. Okay? And you could start your crate training before then too, given your success, but again, do not put the dog in the crate and go leave for 4 to 5, 6 hours with a puppy that young. The puppy will have an accident, and then again, you're sending the wrong message to the dog. You're gonna have a dirty dog. You've got to clean it up. You got to disinfect the crate. You're gonna be stressed out. It's just not fun, It's not. So I hope this makes sense. I hope this ties in to separation anxiety. I hope this ties in to the furniture deal. I'm not saying don't love your dog, but again, when the dog gets up on the furniture or in the bed or on the sofa, the dog sees itself as equal to man, you know, to human beings, and then that ups the ante for the dog making more mistakes in terms of behavior and training, and if they do that continuously, that jeopardizes the future of the dog, okay? So I hope that makes sense, okay? And again, if you're shopping around for a dog, you want to get the puppy ideally in the 7th or 8th week, okay? That's the ideal time, all right? And again, you know, don't push the puppy too fast, you know? Don't bring that puppy home on the very first night, put it in a crate, you know, really far away from you, and then you can't hear the dog moving around if it needs to go out. If you bring a puppy home at that age, at the ideal time, you're gonna have to take it out at, you know, 10 o'clock, 12, 2, 4, and 6, you know, or 11, 1, 3, and 5, and then 7. That's just how it is, you know? I'm just telling you how it is the first few weeks, all right? So I hope this makes sense. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. Harley and I are gonna get back to work. Take care.